Greetings, good people, and welcome to Black Comic Characters. This is Donnelly Jones II, aka Solly Two Kings. Today on Black Comic Characters, we are going to delve into some pretty deep territory. I hope that I can navigate this journey well enough to provide some perspective and insight to a question that you may or may not have thought about. That is one of the purposes of this channel, to educate and provide a platform of subjects that are not necessarily given a platform, particularly subjects and content surrounding comics in the African diaspora. Before we begin, I'd like to invite you to subscribe to the channel, and if you appreciate the video, give it a thumbs up. The success of Black Panther, Miles Morales, Storm, Luke Cage, Cyborg, and other Black comic characters in recent times is unprecedented. In many of the older Black comic characters like Black Panther or Falcon, they have held their appeal throughout the ages, whereas some of the newer characters like Miles Morales have also appealed to a majority of comic collectors. But when we look at the creators of these Black characters, there is a trait that cannot be ignored. Black Panther was created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. Storm was created by Len Wein and David Cockrum. Miles Morales was created by Sarah Pichelli and Brian Michael Bendis. Spawn was created by Todd McFarlane. With these popular Black characters comes a decades-old argument. Should white creators create Black characters? This argument is not just confined to comics, as you can imagine. This argument has been argued in the realm of movies, such as Steven Spielberg's directing the film adaptation of Alice Walker's novel, The Color Purple, novels like Lovecraft Country, written by Matt Ruff, and almost all other forms of art and entertainment. The nutshell of the argument is as such. White creators do not have the experience of a Black character, man or woman, living in a world dominated by a white power structure, and will not fully be able to express the feelings, characteristics, and social background of such a character. The subject is a long and extremely detailed one that can be debated for a very long time, so here we will just be covering some of the main points of the argument. Please keep in mind that these are my opinions, and I would like to use those to promote a discussion amongst us. I believe that the answer to if white creators should create Black comic characters or any other ethnicity is a yes and no answer. I know that my answer is one that is straddling the fence, but hear me out. To argue the answer of yes, white creators should create Black characters, is that white creators have already created Black characters that we all know and love within Marvel, DC, Image, and other independent publishers. To the degree that we Black comic collectors include these characters in our collections for the most part. Many white comic creators in the past, as we've discussed in my Golden Age video, were subject to the racist and prejudiced mindset of that time, which in turn created Black characters with negative characteristics. As the Silver Age came into being, those stereotypes lessened and lessened, not to say that they were completely eradicated because they weren't, but white creators did begin to attribute actual human characteristics and some depth to their Black characters. Stan Lee and Jack Kirby even went a step further when they created T'Challa, the Black Panther, and the African nation of Wakanda, which they made the most technologically advanced nation on the planet in 1966. We cannot change history, so it is in part due to these white creators who did put forth memorable Black comic characters that we see these characters and their residual effect of other Black comic characters come to life today. They were able to see past themselves in order to create these characters and create them with a certain sense of responsibility. So, due to the efforts of these creators, we do have positive Black characters that are reflective of Black people and have, for the most part, garnered acceptance in the Black comic community and in the comic community as a whole. The second argument is that white creators who create Black characters can explore a totally different reality than the one they actually live in, and can potentially bring about greater understanding. When creating any character, one should explore that character's history, point of view of the world, and cultural background in order to bring about some semblance of a realistic character. If a white creator explores a Black character, one would hope that they would follow this formula and actually explore some of the nuances of Black cultures. I say black cultures because black people are the most diverse people in the world, and even if you limit it to the United States, there is no one black culture, as the black population in New York is totally different from the black population in New Orleans. If a white creator does this, a different understanding of people should be achieved, depending on the person and their motivations. I think that creating a generic black character for the sake of tokenization is irresponsible and does not achieve much of anything. Understanding is something that we could all use more of in this world. That understanding can be spread to others who may not have the same viewpoint, but it can spark more understanding. Lastly, we cannot stifle any artist to create just within their own boundaries and experiences. Artists by nature push themselves across the boundaries of their world in order to create. We simply cannot say that white artists should only create white characters and black artists should only create black characters. A Japanese artist cannot create an Indian character, or a Native American creator should not create an Aboriginal character. These barriers are a natural block to being an artist. Yes, there are opera singers who only sing opera. Then there was the legendary Pavarotti, who sang with other legends outside of opera, such as James Brown and Barry White. He received a lot of criticism from the opera community for doing this, but he, as an artist, appreciated the artistry of James Brown and Barry White, and broke the barriers of traditional opera in order to collaborate with these and other legends outside of opera. Any artist should have some reasonable boundaries to their creations, but relegating their own race to the characters they create should not be one of them. As stated before, as long as those characters are treated with respect and dignity, it should not matter who creates the character. And now, here are some counter-arguments of why white creators should not create black characters. While white creators have created great black comic characters, they have perhaps unknowingly pushed out or minimized the efforts of black comic creators. As I stated, the most popular black comic characters have been created by white creators. If you contrast that with popular characters created by black creators, I can whittle it down to literally a handful, and most of them were created by the same creators. Static is arguably the most popular black comic character created by black creators, and behind him is Icon and Rocket and Hardware, and they were created by Dwayne McDuffie and the team at Milestone Media in 1993. The Blue Marvel, created by Kevin Grevious, is gaining a lot of popularity as well these days, but outside of these characters created by Milestone and the Blue Marvel, none of the other characters created by black creators comes close to the popularity of Black Panther, Storm, Miles Morales, or Spawn. This fact exposes two unfortunate facts in the comic industry: that there are not enough black creators in the comic industry to push for new black characters, and for those creators that are in the industry, there is not enough demand or interest in the mainstream to push their creations. I am particularly talking about the independent comic creators, of which there are literally thousands who have created thousands of great ideas. This fact can give a false illusion that there are either not enough black creators, or that the black creators do not have good enough ideas. But after watching Iron Man 3 and Wonder Woman 1984, and reading the Spider-Man's The Clone Saga, along with the current run of Amazing Spider-Man, I think that argument can be put to rest. With all due respect to the work that was put into all of them, the ideas were just not that good. And now we aren't even going to go into the disparity of black women creators in the comic industry. That issue is a whole nother video. Another argument is in economics. While the black comic creations of white creators does inspire, the reality of the business side is that the profits garnered by those characters and publications goes into the coffers of mostly white-run organizations, which are usually in turn used to create other characters that are not black. It would be nice to see more than a few black creators and publishers creating content and earning a profit so that more black characters and content can be created. The last point is just a basic point of seeing someone who looks like you create something with you in mind. This is especially poignant for black people who have not had many examples of this in the mainstream. Not when compared to the number of comics, films, TV shows where the main characters are white. This is something that many white creators may not understand because they live in a society that has mostly a white audience in mind. This is not to say that a black or Asian audience cannot appreciate these creations, which we do, but there are certain cultural and ethnic differences that create unique attributes and issues that are more often than not addressed. When a black creator has that experience and puts that experience onto pages in a certain way, it connects with me. When I read Image's The Good Asian by Pornsak Pichetshote, I thought it was a great comic, and where there were derogatory terms used for Asians in the comic, I could connect with that as a black man with the derogatory terms used for black people that have been repeated over time. But the experience of Asians is different in this country, so I am sure that book may have connected differently for Asian readers than myself. I don't go to many cons, but I have a tradition of going to Dragon Con with my family and a few other cons around Atlanta, Georgia. I genuinely have a great time at all of them, but I make sure that I attend Onyx Con, one of the few black comic conventions in the nation, and it feels great to see the plethora of black artists, writers, and creators, many of whom I have formed friendships with. It is no different than Italians enjoying the Feast of San Gennaro in New York, or Indians celebrating the Festival of Holi. These are their traditions, and they feel rooted in them. It gives a sense of cultural connectedness. Black Panther may have been created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, but the fact that the movie was created and directed by Ryan Coogler and written by him and Joe Robert Cole along with other black collaborators, the costume designs were created by Ruth Carter. All of these black creators to bring this film to the screen the way it was felt absolutely wonderful to see as a black man. That is something we need more of. In concluding this video, I believe that it is okay for white creators to create black characters, but I do want to see more opportunities for black creators to create their own characters and stories, and for their platforms to be placed more so in the public. The ideas are great and they are out there. Whether it be Stephen Conjay's Cure for Utopia, Marcus Williams and Greg Burnham's Tuskegee Heirs, the art of Ashley A. Woods, or Julie Anderson. These artists need to be supported by all of us and elevated so that their comics and art can be sitting next to Black Panther or Miles Morales every Wednesday. It is important for black comic creators to be seen as artists. We do great work worthy of the support of the comic community as a whole. Our stories are those that can entrance, entertain, and enthrall. That is why we need more black artists. I would like to know what you think. Should white artists create black characters? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below, and please be respectful. I know that the topic can be controversial, but as long as we are respectful to one another, we can gain insight. Thank you so much for listening. Take care, and until the next time, peace and many blessings.